David Stokes is with us, Show Me Policy analyst here. Been doing this for a year and a half. Got to be close to 2 years now.
I think full-time on Mondays, right about a year now.
Yeah, okay, good. David Stokes.
With guest appearances before that.
Yeah, sure, right. You were a regular, a semi-regular, if you will. You have uncovered an interesting thing that the city of St. Louis is doing, and you find abhorrent. What is it?
Well, I can't claim to have uncovered it. I want to.
Okay.
If I amend that, if I may,
all right,
because other people did uncover it.
What's going on?
Well, it's the city's practice of licensing street musicians and street performers, and the ACLU has filed a lawsuit, so they'd probably be the ones to claim to have uncovered it.
Right.
And I commend them for it. That the city is there's two problems with it. And until recently, if you wanted to be a street performer and just play music or do whatever type of art,
juggle or paint or whatever you want to do,
you had to audition for the city before they would give you your license.
Who did you have to audition to?
I don't know who you had to do. I think it was the street department, because you were doing it on sidewalks, and that falls under the purview of the street department. And it's just awful. Even though in the city's defense, they claim they never rejected anybody. And also to their credit, they've stopped the practice in the past month or two after the lawsuit and the criticism. But it's still absurd that people in city government didn't realize how unconstitutional and illegal this was, to demand that a singer or get permission from the government before they engage in their expression.
All right. How much does it cost to get a permit to be a street performer?
Well, $100, which is, I don't think there should be any charge to do it, but I think a point of the lawsuit is $100 goes way beyond covering the costs of the permit. And it's almost there's no rhyme or reason that it should be $100. You're just raising money at this point. So if you're going to have a permit, it should be about $5 or $10. But you shouldn't have that at all. People have a right to express themselves and do art or music on public streets.
I'm going to take the opposite approach, just to be ornery.
I like it.
Just to be ornery. Now, look, you get some mime on the corner. You're like, it's great, right? You have some artist who does little caricatures of somebody. That's great. Or maybe even somebody will go so far as to draw something on the sidewalk that's sort of street art, and it washes away when the rains come. I'm with you. But what happens when somebody wants to do something that is suggestive or over the top? All of a sudden, I'm taking my 10-year-old kid to the game, and I have to walk by this person who's got some exotic dance where the kids are naked, where the women are naked. So shouldn't there be some level of make sure this street performer is somewhat acceptable?
Mcgraw, I think the city, as in most places in Missouri, probably everywhere in the state, has public decency laws and public behavior laws, reasonable laws that can be enforced in those situations. If you have somebody using exotic dancers on a street corner, that's illegal with or without the permit that applies to a musician. You have other ways of addressing those legitimate concerns.
Except that in downtown St. Louis, there's a person who drives around in a billboard van that has virtually naked women, scantily clad women on pictures that say, "Come see the rest of me." And on opening day, I saw live strippers perform in a van driving around downtown promoting the strip clubs. Now, I've called and complained and said, that makes us look so bad. And they keep telling me there's nothing we can do. So I'm for trying to put some type of curb on some of this stuff.
Well, if there's nothing they can do in that case, it's because the people doing it were careful to set it in a way that followed the current laws, the current obscenity laws and public display laws. I don't think that particular instance, and good for them for following the law, and I don't like that truck either. Right. Everybody sees it when you go to Cardinal games.
It's awful. It makes us look like, terrible.
But it's even worse in an effort to stop that, to expand the city's power or expand government power to prevent legitimate artistic expression. And when you impose an unrealistic fee of $100 for somebody who just wants to sing on a street corner, and you put the government involved in auditioning what they're going to say, I would say that that's far worse than that admittedly ugly and distasteful truck that drives around Busch Stadium.
All I know is I took a 10-year-old kid to the ball game once, and I'm holding his hands as we cross the street, and this van comes by, and he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Don't look at it." And so I'm like, "Just look at the statues of Bob Gibson." I mean, it was just ridiculous. I'm like, really? I mean, and all they do is gum up the works. Their goal is to get into traffic and just sort of cause traffic jams so more people can watch this stupid billboard.
And if they're causing traffic problems, I think that the city street department would have some traffic-oriented ways to stop that. But I have to imagine that they put a little bit of thought into this truck to make sure what they're doing is legal, as distasteful as it might be. And again, I don't like it either, but I like expanding the government's power to regulate our expression via music or art or whatever. I dislike that further.
Is this? Did you bring this up because Baton Bob is back in St. Louis and he's dancing again?
I did not know that he was back in St. Louis. I lived in the Central West End during his glory days of about a decade ago, maybe a little bit longer. So I saw Baton Bob all the time, and he was great.
You know what's interesting is I've never seen you and Baton Bob in the same room at the same time.
I'm worried that I'm confusing Baton Bob and who's the guy who dances at the clubs all the
Beetle
time?
Bob.
Beetle Bob. I'm
Yes,
confusing
yes.
Baton Bob and Beetle Bob.
Baton Bob, supposedly there was an incident down in Atlanta, and he was arrested. And while he's sorting that out, I guess he's up here in St. Louis with his baton and his tutu.
Well, he looked great 12, 13 years ago, and I saw him a lot, and I welcome him back. And Beetle Bob, too.
I have not seen Beetle Bob in a while, though I don't necessarily get out to the venues as much as I used to.
I used to see Beetle Bob going way, way back to the mid-'90s when I think 6 months, I bounced at Mississippi Nights. I saw Beetle Bob there. As people
Wait,
would tell,
whoa, hold on a second. Hold on, back up.
I was sort of the small backup bouncer.
You were a bouncer at Mississippi Nights?
I was the backup guy. I was not one of the huge 300-pounders in the middle of the mosh pit. I was sort of in support to them.
That explains all the fights at Mississippi Nights if you had David Stokes as a bouncer. Here's some news for you. Do you know who was good friends with Beetle Bob?
I don't.
I'm going to tell you. Archbishop Raymond Burke. They used to walk in the Forest Park together and hold nice long conversations.
I love it. That is a great story.
Only that news broke here on the Big 550 KTRS when I had Archbishop Raymond Burke in studio talking about other things, including his friendship with Baton Bob. Yeah, how'd you like to hear that conversation?
I think that would be a great one.
There you go. David Stokes, when can we read you and when can we see you?
You know, your listeners can see everything the Show Me Institute publishes, and we're putting up some testimony about the Veolia contract with the city of St. Louis. We're putting that up today. You can see it at showmeinstitute.org or follow me on Twitter at David C. Stokes.
I love the fact that I'm more conservative on this street performer thing than you are.
You are wise in many ways, Mcgraw.
Thank you, David Stokes. Former bouncer at Mississippi Nights, now policy analyst for the Show Me Institute, which actually you probably got a lot of experience that helps you in the Show Me Institute now.
You can learn a lot in 6 months on that job. There is no doubt about that.